And we now join on our Newsmaker line the Hornell Industrial Development Agency's Shawn Hogan. Good morning, Shawn.
Good morning, Brian. How are you this morning?
Doing well, and yourself?
Good. In this time of turmoil and trouble, I thought I'd maybe start with a little quote from St. Francis, and it's about faith. This is, at all times and seasons, in every country and place, every day and all day, we must have a true and humble faith. And I think that's a message that rings true during this time of crisis for everybody. And don't give up the ship. Have faith and have confidence that we'll get through this tumultuous time.
Sure thing. Thank you for that, Shawn. The Hornell Industrial Development Agency, how are things going with helping local businesses and individuals in this COVID period?
Well, as you know, the agency, the board of directors, identified funds that they had accumulated over the years that came from federal sources or from HUD, which those funds have to be used for economic development purposes. So the agency board, at the recommendation of its director, Jim Griffin, transferred $250,000 of those federal HUD funds that have to be used for economic development to the local development corporation. And in turn, the local development corporation then solicited applications from Hornell businesses, the caveat being that they had to be in business for at least 2 years to have established a track record, and also be located within the city of Hornell because the agency serves the city of Hornell. The agency received over 30 applications for assistance, and the agency board met and at two different times, and it had two different meetings as the applications came in, and they approved 22 loans for assistance to Hornell businesses, which totaled about $249,600. So the money that was available is pretty much committed, and those businesses are ranged across the board in our community, mostly retail operations, restaurants, some retail storefronts, and that was the purpose of the program. And I commend the Industrial Development Agency for seeing the need, and this was a program to pretty much assist, the smaller operations, the mom and pop stores, the sole proprietorships, or individuals and who toiled and sweat and worked hard for these businesses to enhance the quality of life in our community, and also support community organizations. So, that assistance, however small in many cases, hopefully will be enough for those businesses to weather the rough seas of this pandemic and this economic turmoil until we can get them reopened and move on from there. So, like I say, I commend the Industrial Development Agency for their proactive approach and acting quickly to help these businesses. So,
was that now the IDA's been around since the early 70s, I believe?
Yes, the IDA was formed by state legislation in the early 70s, I think 70 to 72 or 3.
I'm guessing just a guess, but was this the first time the IDA's had to do something like this in an emergency, or has anything like this ever happened before?
It's the first time.
Yeah, this is quite the unprecedented situation here with the the COVID-19 period that we're in. Shawn Hogan, do you have any thoughts on the governor opening things up in Livingston County and Steuben County as far as the phase one goes, which includes manufacturing, which is a big thing, obviously, in Hornell?
Well, a lot of things in Hornell. Our manufacturing, pretty much most of it was deemed essential, so a lot of it kept operating during the height of this pandemic because they were deemed essential businesses. They were involved in the transportation industry. Now, this order that will go into effect or the loosening of the reins will go into effect on Friday the 15th, includes all businesses, manufacturing businesses, whether they were deemed essential or non-essential. I think more importantly for us, we have a number of construction projects that came to a screeching halt. One being the residents of Hornell at the airport. They were under construction. They were building 4 more residential market rate apartment units. They had the foundations poured, and they were going great guns. That had to come to a screeching halt in March. And another project that the IDA is involved in is they have sold the old Marion Roar or Rockland Silk Mill to Park Grove Realty, and they were in the midst of doing a mitigation and a demolition within the building and cleaning out environmental, cleaning out asbestos and things of that nature. And that had to come to screeching halt. So as of Friday, those 2 projects can begin once again, and you'll see some activity on the construction front. What I'm looking for, and I think most people are looking for, is the next wave of openings or phase 2, where maybe they will allow retail to reopen with curbside service or limited amount of people within the stores and things of that nature. And then you move into phase 3, which would be restaurants, which is supposed to be, 2 weeks past that, so another 28 days. And then phase 4 would be gymnasiums, swimming pools and things of that nature. So if everyone is cautious and wears their mask and practices social distancing and keeps the level of infections down and hopefully eradicate them in our local area or our region, I think with that we're there's light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think because they've loosened some restrictions, I don't think it's the time for people to gather to have barbecues and big groups and they still should continue, and then that's what's recommended at the federal CDC and the state, is to continue practicing social distancing and wear masks when you leave your homes. So if we do what the experts and the scientists recommend, I think we can be in good shape.
How far? You mentioned phase 2 of retail there. Do you know how far away we are now from phase 2?
Well, according to the governor's protocols, and you can get that online. If anyone's interested, you can go online and go to the governor's web page or New York State, New York State Pause, and you'll see the guidelines and what's required. So they say that hopefully they say 14 days from the phase 1. If there's no spike in infections, then they'll begin phase 2 of the reopening, which would include limited retail. And and that's important to not only Hornell but everybody. As just announced, as we discussed prior to going on the air, the state controller just announced that sales tax collections have dropped by 27%. And that's a very huge red flag for cities like Hornell, counties, all counties, any communities that depend for a large part of their revenues from sales tax. You know, when I was mayor of the city, and I'm sure it still holds true, sales tax was our largest revenue. It was larger than property tax. So if you take a hit of that nature on sales tax, you're definitely are going to be hurting financially. And I think, and I give Mayor Buckley all credit in the world, because he understood this. And, you know, and he made some very tough decisions in the budget process, which, you know, weren't popular, but I think it was the right thing to do, because, you know, he's going to be faced with these cuts. So, you know, kudos to Mayor Buckley and the Common Council for you know, for foreseeing and the potential of tremendously lost revenue. So, that being said, I believe that this next round of stimulus that has come through the Congress, that was announced yesterday, that they're proposing, includes a big portion of that would go to state and local governments to fill the gap of these lost revenues. And if that doesn't happen, if they can't convince the Senate to go along with this, you're going to see many more hundreds and possibly millions of people lose their jobs in the public sector. And I'm talking about policemen, I'm talking about firefighters, EMTs. You can already see it, you know, where a lot of, you see Allegheny County just announced 46 furloughs in Allegheny County. And so, and that just adds to the misery and adds to the you know, to the degradation of our economy. So it's important that the Congress and the Senate come to a quick agreement and get funds as quickly as they possible to the states, to the counties, and to the cities to help fill that gap. You know, I'm a pretty positive person for the most part. This is essential. This has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then it's just going to add to the misery. So I would recommend that everyone in your listening audience contact their senators and Tom Reed, or even contact, you know, get online and find Mitch McConnell's phone number and call them and say how important it is that they include a financial aid package to local governments, to state and local governments in the next round of stimulus. And they can't wait weeks. It's got to happen quickly.
Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a moment with Shawn Hogan from the Hornell IDA. Stay with us.
With some recent revisions, our certificate sale is still going on. Save up to 50% off your favorite restaurant or local business. Pay online and we'll ship the certificates to you at no extra charge. Go to WLEA.net and click on Certificate Auction Sales. Buy the certificates you want and request that they be shipped. Let us help you save money. And thanks for listening to AM 1480 WLEA.
What can you do when your world is turned upside down? When keeping yourself and your family healthy seems like a huge challenge? You act. You turn things right side up again. At UR Medicine, we redesigned our whole approach to care to give you the access you need, the safety you expect, and the confidence to act now. A lot has changed, but one thing hasn't. Moving forward will take medicine of the highest order. Visit redesigned.urmc.edu.
Back with the Hornell IDA's Shawn Hogan. Shawn, Dr. Fauci yesterday in Washington talked about the possible delaying of school openings nationwide. Your thoughts? Will Governor Andrew Cuomo delay things in New York State for the fall? Do you have a sense of that?
No, I don't. I think it's kind of really too early to tell. I think it would be, I think we have to brace ourselves for that possibility. And I think he said that with an air of caution if states reopen too quickly. I think if they do it in stages and they do it intelligently, I think there's a strong possibility that we could have schools opening in the fall. But if we don't do it intelligently and there's a spike in cases, I think that there could result in there being a delay in schools opening in the fall. I'm by far not an expert or a virologist or pretend to be. So I certainly take Dr. Fauci's advice and give it great credence. He certainly has been at it a long time. He served 6 presidents, both Democrat and Republican. So certainly he has the respect and the confidence of people of all political persuasions. So I kind of give him and at age 79 to continue to do what he's doing and being of service to our country in such a way. In my mind, he's a true hero, so I give him a lot of praise and kudos. And if we practice what he is recommending, I think we have a good possibility of seeing education reopen. If we don't, if we push the envelope too far, then we'll suffer the consequences.
Now, if you could put on your Steuben County Democratic chair hat, Politico, the commentators, some on the right you expected from, Politico hit the governor hard, Governor Andrew Cuomo, accusing him of mishandling the COVID pandemic. Wondered if you wanted to respond to that.
Well, that was going to be coming because of the size and I should say the number of cases that we had in New York City and the number of deaths. That eventually they're going to be looking to find fault with the governor or Mayor de Blasio and the fact that they didn't act quickly enough. If you remember, I think if you go back into March when the governor started to restrict things, he did it slowly at a time. Remember, he restricted gatherings, and then he reduced the number of people that could be in any one spot. Trying to kind of ease into these restrictions that some feel are too restrictive. Up until the time I think it was about March. The weekend of the St. Patrick's Day parade when things really kind of shut down. I think everything shut down like on the 16th, that Sunday, or the 15th of March. So I think he did it as quickly as he could logistically do it. When you're dealing with a city the size of New York City and the ramifications of closing schools and giving the schools an opportunity to develop kind of some strategy on how they're going to educate your kids and how you're going to do it online for that number of students, not just in the Hornell and Steuben County, but in New York City. So I think there had to be a little bit. I remember It was the Monday, I think the 16th, where teachers in Hornell had to report, and then they had to. The kids came and got their instructions, and off they went. And so I think that the governor, probably acted it in the best interest of the people of the state of New York with the information that he had. Remember, there's a timeline that stretches here where the federal government was poo-pooing this right up and through March. So I don't think it's fair or political to attack either Mayor de Blasio or Cuomo, because they're relying on information that they're getting from the CDC and the federal government. So. But someone's always going to be blamed for something. So, I think you have to expect that. And I'm sure the governor has got broad enough shoulders and he can defend himself.
Do you think he will be drafted? Heineman's been saying this for months and months now, that Governor Andrew Cuomo will be pulled into the presidential race. What do you think of that theory?
Well, as much as I appreciate Dr. Heineman and have a great respect for him, I don't think that I agree with him on that point. I think the governor has been very candid about, he's not interested, and he is happy being governor of the state of New York, and he's got his plate full. Now, that being said, anything can happen. This is a tumultuous time, not only for economics and our public health system, but for politics as well, because politics is a people business. And if you can't get out among the people and make your case among the people, it's a different environment. Joe Biden, obviously can't go out to rallies. Can't go out and shake hands and pat people on the back, so they're trying to run a campaign virtually on the internet, on TV, and things of that nature. When things loosen up, when the guidelines change, maybe that he'll get out and out there. But I think, Joe Biden is our candidate, and I think he'll remain our candidate.
Shawn Hogan, always great having you on. Want to thank you for coming on for this half hour.
No problem, Brian. Have a great day. Let's hope we get a little warm weather here in the next couple of days.
I guess so, yeah. And I woke up defrosting my car windshield this morning here on the hill. Interesting. Thank you so much, Shawn.
As St. Francis said today, we all got to have faith each and every day. Take care.
That's right. Thank you, Shawn.
All right. Bye-bye.
AM 1480 WLEA, Hornell. We're going to do Fox News in about 30 seconds. After that, the local news and weather, and then Dr. Nick Waddy. Stay with us.